They never expected this from you. They thought your silence meant weakness, that your patience was nothing, that you would break under pressure. But something shifted quietly, secretly, in ways they can't see. While they slept, doubted, and celebrated their actions, God was preparing you, and now they are shaking. Not because you threatened them, not because you said a word, but because they sense the storm of justice and power that is quietly coming for them. Every moment they underestimated you, every wrong they thought would go unnoticed. It's all stacking against them. And deep down, they know one truth they cannot escape. They will never try you again. Lesson 1. Your silence was power, not weakness. They truly believed they had won the moment you chose to stay silent, thinking your lack of reaction meant you were weak, afraid, or unable to defend yourself. But what they failed to understand is that your silence was not weakness. It was a level of strength they cannot even reach, because staying quiet when you are hurt requires control, patience, and deep trust in God. As a chosen one, you were never meant to react like everyone else. You were guided to step back, while others chase arguments and revenge. And in that moment of silence, you didn't lose. You shifted the entire situation out of human hands and placed it under divine control, where justice is precise and unavoidable. And this is exactly what unsettles them now, because they were prepared for your anger, your reaction, something they could fight back against. But they were not prepared for your calm, your detachment, your silence. And when people cannot understand your response, they begin to fear it. They start overthinking, questioning, and realizing deep down that this is no longer something they can control or escape. And that's why they feel uneasy, because your silence didn't end the situation, it elevated it. And now they are not just dealing with you, they are dealing with what comes next. Lesson 2. They feel your change even without contact. Even without a single message, call, or interaction, they can feel that something inside you has changed, because your energy is no longer the same. You are no longer reacting, no longer chasing, no longer trying to explain yourself or seek closure. And that shift is powerful in a way most people don't understand. As a chosen one, when you start detaching and placing your trust in God, your presence changes, your mindset becomes calmer, your focus becomes clearer, and your emotions are no longer controlled by what others did to you. And even if they cannot see you, they can sense that they have lost access to the version of you they once controlled. And that realization creates fear, because before, they knew how to trigger you, how to get a reaction, how to stay in your thoughts. But now, that connection is broken, and when someone loses emotional control over you, they lose their power completely. And this is what disturbs them deeply, because your silence is no longer just quiet, it carries a message that you have moved to a higher level mentally and spiritually. And now they are left trying to understand how someone they once affected so easily has become so distant, so calm, and so unaffected. And that confusion slowly turns into fear, because they can feel that you are no longer the same person, and they know they can't reach you the way they used to. Lesson 3. Justice may be delayed, but it always comes. Right now, it might look like nothing has happened to them, like they moved on easily, like they faced no consequences for what they did. But that is the biggest illusion people fall into, because just because justice is delayed does not mean it has disappeared. As a chosen one, you must understand that God does not rush outcomes the way humans do. He allows time not because he ignores dhulm, but because he is preparing a result that is precise, complete, and impossible to escape. And while you were healing, growing, and learning to let go, something else was quietly building in the background, something they cannot see but can definitely feel, because deep down every person knows when they have wronged someone, and no matter how confident they act on the outside, that awareness stays inside them, slowly turning into pressure, anxiety, and fear, especially when they see you not reacting, not seeking revenge, and not trying to expose them. Because now they realize the situation is no longer in your hands. It has moved to a higher level where no excuses work, no manipulation works, and no escape is possible. And this is what begins to shake them, because time is no longer their protection. It is actually working against them, every day adding weight to what they did, every moment increasing the certainty that something will come back to them in a way they cannot control. And this is the part most people don't understand. When justice finally arrives, it doesn't just match the action, it exposes it, it teaches through it, and it leaves a mark that cannot be ignored. And that is why they are starting to feel restless now, because even if nothing has happened yet, they can sense that something is building, something bigger than your reaction, something beyond human control. And that quiet, unseen process is far more powerful than instant revenge, because when it finally unfolds, it doesn't just correct the wrong, it makes sure it is never repeated again. Lesson 4. Your patience exposed them without you saying a word. What you need to understand is this: you didn't stay quiet for no reason. Your patience was actually revealing everything about them without you needing to explain or defend yourself. Because when someone hurts you and you choose not to react, you remove all the noise, all the drama, and all the chances they had to twist the story in their favor. They were expecting you to argue, to get emotional, to say something they could use against you. But when you stayed calm and stepped back, you took away their control, and suddenly their actions stood alone, clear and exposed for what they really were. And this is a powerful lesson we learn from the life of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, who faced insults, betrayal, and disrespect with patience and dignity, never lowering himself to the level of those who tried to hurt him. And over time, the truth always became clear without him needing to fight for it. And in the same way, your patience has now become a mirror for them, forcing them to face what they did without being able to blame you or hide behind excuses. And that creates a deep discomfort inside them, because now they are left alone with their own actions, thinking about it again and again, realizing you never reacted the way they expected. And that is what breaks their confidence, because they were ready for a fight, but they were not ready for your peace. And as time goes on, your silence continues to speak louder than words ever could, showing people the truth without you saying anything. And this is the real power of a chosen one. You don't expose people by talking, you expose them by staying calm, by holding your dignity, and by trusting that the truth will always come out on its own. And that is exactly why they feel uncomfortable now, because your patience didn't hide what they did. It made it impossible for them to escape it. Lesson 5. What they tried to break is now becoming your strength. What they tried to destroy in you is exactly what is now rebuilding you into someone stronger, sharper, and completely different from who you used to be. And this is something they never expected, because when they acted against you, their intention was simple. They wanted to weaken you, confuse you, slow you down, maybe even break your confidence, so you would doubt yourself and stay stuck in that pain. But what they didn't realize is that your journey was never meant to end in that moment of hurt. It was meant to begin there, because as a chosen one, your pain is not punishment, it is preparation. And every situation that tried to damage you was actually shaping you into a version of yourself that cannot be easily shaken again. At first, it didn't feel like strength. It felt like confusion, like emotional weight, like you were trying to understand why it happened and what it meant. And that phase is real. It's part of the process. Because growth doesn't start with clarity, it starts with discomfort. But slowly, without you even noticing at first, something inside you began to change. You started thinking differently, reacting differently, seeing people more clearly, understanding situations faster. And most importantly, you stopped ignoring the signs you used to overlook. And that shift is powerful, because now you are no longer the same person they once dealt with. You are more aware, more controlled, and much harder to manipulate. They can sense this change, even if they don't fully understand it, because the version of you they once had access to, the one they could confuse, influence, or take for granted, is no longer there. And that creates a deep realization inside them that what they tried to damage has actually evolved into something stronger. And this is where their confidence starts to collapse, because they are now facing the result of their own actions, but not in the way they expected. Instead of seeing you broken, they are seeing you rise. And that is something they are not mentally prepared for. You have to understand this clearly. Real strength is not built in comfort. It is built in moments where you are tested, where you are pushed emotionally, where you are forced to face things you didn't choose. And instead of running from it, you went through it. Even if it was difficult, even if it took time, and that process created something inside you that cannot be easily taken away, because now your strength is not based on people, it is based on what you learned, what you survived, and how you grew from it. And this is exactly what makes them uneasy now, because they know they no longer have the same influence over you. They know their words won't affect you the same way. Their actions won't control your emotions the same way. And that loss of control creates fear, because people feel safe when they understand someone, when they know how to predict them. But now you have become unpredictable in the best way, calm when they expect reaction, distant when they expect attention, focused when they expected you to be distracted by pain. And that shift changes the entire dynamic. What also adds to their fear is the realization that they played a role in your growth, whether they wanted to or not. Their actions pushed you into a process that made you stronger, wiser, and more aware. And now they have to watch the result of that. They have to see you move forward, improving, building yourself again, and reaching a level they didn't expect you to reach. And that creates a mix of regret and fear, because deep down, they know they cannot undo what they did, and they cannot stop what you are becoming. As a chosen one, this is part of your path. You don't just go through pain, you transform through it. You don't just experience loss, you gain clarity from it. And every situation that tried to break you becomes a lesson that strengthens you, and over time, those lessons build a version of you that is more stable, more confident, and more connected to your purpose. And once you reach that level, you stop seeing what happened as something negative. You start seeing it as something necessary, something that pushed you into growth. And this is the part that truly shakes them, not just that you survived what they did, but that you are becoming better because of it. That instead of staying stuck in that moment, you used it to level up. And now your direction in life is stronger, your mindset is clearer, and your standards are higher. And they know they cannot meet that version of you anymore. They know they cannot affect you the way they once did. And they know they cannot go back to how things were. So never think that what happened to you was meant to destroy you. Because if you look closely, it did the opposite. It removed your weaknesses, exposed what needed to change, and pushed you toward becoming someone more grounded, more aware, and more powerful in a quiet, controlled way. And that kind of strength is not loud. It doesn't need to prove itself. It shows through your actions, your decisions, and your ability to move forward without carrying the same emotional weight. Right now, while they are stuck thinking about what they did and what it led to, you are moving forward, building yourself, growing into something they cannot reach anymore. And that is the real shift. You are no longer affected by the past in the same way. You are using it as fuel, as direction, as a reminder of who you are becoming, and once you reach that point, there is no going back. And that is why they are shaken, because they didn't just lose control over you, they lost the version of you they thought would always stay the same. And now they are left watching you become someone they can no longer influence, no longer understand, and no longer reach. And that is something far more powerful than anything they ever expected. Lesson 6. They fear your return, but you've outgrown them. There is a quiet fear sitting inside them that they don't talk about, but they feel it strongly, the fear that one day you might return, not as the same person they once knew, but as a completely different version of yourself, stronger, calmer, more aware, and impossible to control. And this thought alone is enough to shake them, because deep down they know that if you ever came back with this new mindset, the dynamic would never be the same again. The version of you they once dealt with was easier to read, easier to influence, easier to take for granted. But the version you are becoming now is something they don't understand. And what people don't understand, they fear. But here is the truth: they are slowly realizing you are not coming back. Because your journey was never about returning to what hurt you, it was about growing beyond it. And as a chosen one, once you learn your lessons, once your awareness increases, once your standards rise, you cannot go back to the same environment, the same people, and the same patterns without feeling uncomfortable, because you are no longer aligned with that version of your life. And this is what creates a deep sense of loss inside them, because they are beginning to understand that your absence is not temporary, it is permanent. They might have thought your silence was just a phase, that eventually you would come back, reach out, or try to fix things, because that's what they were used to. That's the pattern they expected. But as time passes and they see no reaction, no return, no attempt from your side, reality starts to settle in. And that reality is heavy. They start to realize that they didn't just lose a moment with you, they lost access to you completely. And that is something they cannot easily accept. What makes this even more difficult for them is the fact that they can sense your growth from a distance, even without direct contact. They can feel that you are moving forward, becoming more stable, more focused, more at peace. And this creates a strong contrast between who you were before and who you are now. And that contrast makes them reflect on their own actions, because they can clearly see that while you are evolving, they are still stuck in the same mindset, the same habits, the same level of awareness. And that realization creates discomfort, because it forces them to confront the fact that they didn't just lose you, they failed to grow with you. There is also another layer to their fear, and that is the idea of facing you again, not in a relationship or connection, but simply crossing paths in life, because they know that if that moment ever happens, they will not be facing the same person they once knew. They will be facing someone who has learned from the past, someone who sees through behavior, someone who cannot be easily influenced or affected anymore. And that thought alone makes them uneasy, because they know they would not have the same control, the same advantage, or the same impact they once had. But what they don't fully understand is that your journey is not about proving anything to them. It is not about returning stronger just to show them what they lost. It is about moving forward completely, without the need to go back at all. Because true growth is not about going back to old situations with a new mindset. It is about leaving those situations behind entirely and stepping into something better, something more aligned with who you are becoming. As a chosen one, your path is designed in a way where every experience teaches you something, every situation shapes you, and every challenge pushes you toward a higher level of understanding. And once you reach that level, you naturally detach from anything that no longer fits your growth. And that detachment is not forced, it is natural, it is a result of clarity, and that clarity makes it impossible for you to return to what once confused you or hurt you. And this is what truly shakes them, not just the idea that you have changed, but the realization that they can no longer access you in any way, emotionally, mentally, or even through influence, because you have reached a point where your peace matters more than your attachment, your growth matters more than your past, and your future matters more than anything that tried to hold you back. And once someone reaches that level, there is no going back. They are left with their thoughts, replaying the past, wondering what could have been different, questioning their actions, and slowly understanding that they had something valuable in their life, and they lost it because they didn't recognize it at the time. And now that you are gone and growing, that realization becomes heavier, because they know they cannot undo what happened, they cannot return to the past, and they cannot step into your future. You are moving forward, not looking back, not carrying the same emotional weight, not holding on to the same attachments, but focusing on what is ahead, building yourself, strengthening your mindset, and aligning your life with something better. And that is the final shift. You are no longer part of their story in the way you used to be, and they are no longer part of your path moving forward. And that is why they are afraid, not because you are coming back, but because deep down they know you are not. And that realization is something they cannot escape, because it forces them to accept that they didn't just lose you for now, they lost you for good, and the version of you they once knew is never coming back. Lesson 7. When God steps in, everything changes. The ultimate truth that many people fail to understand is that when God steps in to handle a situation, the rules of human expectation no longer apply, and the person who thought they had power over you realizes too late that their influence, their control, their ability to manipulate or intimidate you was never truly theirs to begin with. As a chosen one, your life is designed in a way where everything you experience, every hardship, every betrayal, every moment of doubt or pain, is not meant to break you, but to prepare you for a higher level of awareness, strength, and clarity. And the people who tried to harm you or underestimate you will always feel that shift first, not because they are more aware, but because they are closest to the impact of divine justice. And the fear they feel is not imagined, it is real, because deep down, every human being knows that when someone turns to God and surrenders fully, what comes next is inevitable and unstoppable. They might have laughed at your patience, mocked your silence, dismissed your growth, or even tried to convince themselves that you would fail, but their calculations did not account for the unseen hand that was orchestrating everything on your behalf. While they were busy plotting or manipulating, God was quietly realigning situations, redirecting outcomes, and preparing moments that would expose truth, reveal lies, and correct every imbalance they created. And when that time arrives, it does not come as a loud or chaotic reaction. It comes as a precision strike, as if the universe itself has shifted to reflect the natural order of justice. And in that moment, the same people who once felt untouchable will feel the full weight of what they set in motion, because nothing escapes the alignment of divine intervention. The fear they now feel is compounded by the awareness that they cannot predict or control your path anymore. Every attempt they make to influence outcomes, every plan they devise, every word they speak is now ineffective, because you are no longer playing in the arena they expect you to be in. You have been elevated, moved forward, and shielded by a force far greater than their understanding. And the awareness of this unseen protection is what unsettles them most, because they realize that all their efforts were futile, that their actions cannot undo what God is actively creating in your life, and that whatever they thought would bring you down has instead become the very catalyst for your rise. They feel powerless because, while they operated under the illusion of control, you were being guided through patience, reflection, and divine timing toward outcomes they cannot manipulate, cannot foresee, and cannot escape. And in that space, the balance of power shifts entirely. They begin to replay their actions in their minds, wondering how you stayed silent, how you maintained composure, how you continued moving forward while they were trapped in fear and confusion. And that replaying of events creates anxiety, regret, and helplessness, because their understanding of cause and effect was based on human logic alone, but your results are now being dictated by something far beyond, that a precise, divine orchestration that cannot be resisted. The reality is that God does not need you to fight back, argue, or prove your strength in human terms. Your growth, your success, and your peace are themselves proof. And when you operate from that place, your presence alone becomes a signal to others that things have changed irrevocably. They begin to sense it without words or confrontation, because people instinctively feel shifts in energy, and they know that the version of you they once influenced no longer exists, and that awareness creates fear, because deep down, they realize that everything they did that once gave them confidence has now lost meaning, and the power they thought they held over you has evaporated entirely. What terrifies them most is not your reaction, it's the anticipation of what God might do in response to their actions. This is not revenge in the human sense, it is divine justice. And divine justice is far more precise, far more transformative, and far more enduring than anything you could orchestrate on your own. It changes situations, exposes truths, lifts veils, and rearranges outcomes so that the right people are elevated and the wrong actions are corrected. And those who underestimated the process of God's justice begin to feel it even before it manifests fully, because when divine intervention is active, it operates quietly, invisibly, and in ways that are undeniable once revealed. They begin to realize that nothing they did can stop what is coming. They can try to manipulate, intimidate, or resist, but they are now dealing with forces beyond human calculation, and that awareness shakes them deeply, because they are aware that God has already accounted for every injustice, every insult, every betrayal, and every attempt to control you, and the balance is being restored in ways they cannot influence, predict, or avoid. The truth is becoming inevitable, and the realization of that inevitability creates a fear that is heavy, persistent, and undeniable. You continue your path, unaware of the full effect they are experiencing, focused on your growth, your purpose, and your connection to the divine plan. And that is exactly the point they feel the weight of what they did while you rise, without being distracted by it. You are growing stronger, calmer, and more aligned with your destiny. While they are left in the grip of uncertainty and dread, knowing that what they feared most is no longer a matter of human conflict, it is now a matter of divine order, and that order cannot be changed, manipulated, or undone by them. This is why the chosen ones are always protected in ways others cannot see. You may not understand all the steps, all the timing, or all the ways God is working, but every trial, every betrayal, every moment of seeming injustice is building a foundation for what is coming. And those who tried to harm you will feel it first, not because you sought it, but because you were chosen and God has taken your side. Their fear is proof that the process is active and that the balance is shifting in your favor in ways that are permanent, undeniable, and unstoppable. The ultimate lesson is this: you do not need to react, you do not need to chase, and you do not need to prove yourself, because when God steps in, everything changes on its own terms. And what was once a place of vulnerability becomes a place of power. What was once a situation of weakness becomes a moment of elevation, And what they thought was a temporary advantage is revealed as the very circumstance that triggered your rise. And when that happens, they realize they are powerless. Because they were never in control, the unseen hand was always guiding you, protecting you, and ensuring that justice, truth, and divine order prevail. And the fear they feel is nothing more than the acknowledgement of a reality they cannot change. They will never control you again, and they will never escape the consequences of what they set in motion. And in the end, this is the sign of the chosen ones. Not the absence of challenges, not the avoidance of conflict, but the ability to rise above all of it while remaining calm, patient, and aligned with the divine plan, knowing that when God fights for you, you are untouchable, unstoppable, and destined for a level of success, peace, and power that cannot be diminished by anyone who once underestimated you. And that is exactly why they are shaking now, because what is coming is far beyond anything they imagined, and nothing they do can prevent it. Conclusion: your silence, your patience, your rise. So understand this clearly: everything that happened, every betrayal, every moment they tried to shake you, every injustice they threw your way, was never meant to stop you. It was meant to shape you, to prepare you, and to elevate you into the person you are becoming. The fear they feel now, the unease, the constant replaying of what they did, they are living proof that your patience, your silence, and your trust in God are more powerful than any reaction, any revenge, and any attempt to control you. You didn't need to fight back. You didn't need to argue, and you didn't need to prove anything, because the real battle was never against them. It was within you, to rise above, to hold your dignity, and to align with the divine plan. And now, as you move forward, stronger, calmer, and wiser, they are left facing the consequences of their own actions, powerless to stop what is coming, because what they underestimated most is that the chosen ones are always guided, always protected, and always rising. And the truth is unstoppable. Your path is clear, your power is growing, and the ones who tried to harm you can only watch, shaking at the thought of what they unleashed, because you are no longer theirs to influence, and you never will be again. The rise of the chosen is silent, unseen, and inevitable, and that is your ultimate strength.